Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Local Pundit. I'm Josh Anthony. This is your WREXtra Time show, game day live phone-in show. Yes, it is. Charlton 2, Wrexham 2. I have a lot to say, but I will save that for my show later with the Wrexham reaction. But this is your show for you to have your say, and I will drop the just changing something real quick. Josh is touching buttons. This is what happens when I touch buttons. I screw everything up. So hopefully I don't do that now. But this is your show. You're going to have your say. I'm going to drop the link right now because you don't want to hear from me. I want to hear from you and everyone else there too. And Steve Barton is at it again, my guy. There we go. I love you, Steve Barton. Steve Barton, you can come over and hang out. I'm gonna give you a room in my house. But anyways, this is your show, WREXtra Time. Charlton 2, Wrexham 2. Let's hear what everyone has to say. We'll get people in. Good watch along, by the way, regardless of everything else. Thanks for coming and doing that with us. Had a ton of people in there, and wonderful support. And we're gonna bring our first guest in right now, and he's gonna talk to us. There he is, not PC, on PC. Talk to me, Goose.
Hey, bud. What do you want to talk about?
I am leaving it open floor because I don't want to start cussing. How about let's just talk about you drive. How about that? You drive. I will listen.
Well, okay. I throughout the game, I wrote down some notes of just little observations that I picked up throughout the game. So maybe I should start with that then.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed is that there's a couple of partnerships that seem a little undercooked, but I don't blame them because they haven't had time together in the starting 11. For instance, like Rathbone and Barnett, they haven't had too much play with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Like I noticed that whenever Barnett would be jostling or kind of like in a one-on-one situation, Rathbone had really good game intelligence and he would switch around and overlap and get free. And if it was Andy Cannon, he probably would have made a pass and they would have done something from that. But I think those two probably they basically just need more minutes together, and I think that'll come naturally. I also noticed there was some issues between the communication between Scar and Cleworth. But again, Cleworth was a starting 11 and Scar was in that reserve team there for a bit. And Scar only really came into the team when Cleworth got injured. So that's to be expected. But that's something that's obviously I think will improve just organically. So I also noticed in the game that Charlton had been pinning McLean back, but I don't think they were ready to see that McLean was willing to make that inside pass to O'Connor, who's kind of playing that ball playing defender, and was willing to break the lines and push up and dribble. Only thing is that he lacks a little bit of crispness in that role. I noticed that at some points, he does these kind of like very close dribbles to himself, and he looks very good when he does that. But then there comes a certain point where he pushes it too far, and then he tries to catch up with the ball, and then he just makes it really easy for the opposition to intercept the ball before him. So he kind of loses the ball in a really bad position. So, but again, that's one of those kind of things where the more he does it, the better he's going to get. And I'm actually liking that he's actually willing to do that. I think it goes without saying that the refs, some of their decisions made no sense to me today.
Yep.
The weirdest thing is, as I said, I was taking notes throughout the game, and I wrote this before the handball. I honestly thought that Mitchell deserved a red at one point.
I think so.
Yeah. As for the Cleworth supposed handball, that wasn't a handball. He had his arm tucked in. Mm-hmm. He just jumped. Like he thought like the ball was going up, so he's jumped to head it, but it didn't go there. And so, even though I don't like the decision, I can understand how in the franticness of all these people running around like headless chooks, that his shoulder going up because he's jumping may have looked like he's lifted his shoulder and therefore made a handball. So I can understand how someone could have seen it wrong, if that makes sense.
I could say that too, and I thought because he jumped up, it looked like he moved his hand toward the ball, which is why I thought that too. Good shot, too. Yeah, I agree with it. 1 second. 1 second. I'm just going to bring Brian in as well here. Sorry to cut you off there, so we can have another. Brian, I think you got to mute on your end. Apologies to cut you off. No PC on PC. And Madison, it's good to see you, and I'm very, very sorry to hear that. Welcome back. This is one of our first followers, so hope you are okay, and we will talk about things as we go. Brian Burton, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in. Do you have anything that you want to add?
Can you hear me?
We got you.
So I just want to point out, you have to think about the mentality of this ref. So he comes on for the injured ref. Rev takes down the attacking player. He gets the yellow, but even the commentator on Paramount said it's a yellow that feels like a red, okay? And the crowd's insane. You have the ref who wasn't supposed to be in the center. You have to be aware of that mentality. He's going to not give us the benefit of the doubt in the box as a result because of the takedown from behind that Rev had just done a minute before.
Right.
But it all comes back to the free kick we had before the counterattack. We did absolutely the worst possible thing we could have done, which was try to play with it there on the sideline.
Yeah.
We should have just kicked it right into the stands and brought everybody back, all 11, to play defense. There was maybe 60 seconds left. Mm-hmm. There was just no reason to play with that ball, and it was right in front of Parkey. He could have said, I couldn't tell who took that kick, whether it was Rev or Mo. But you just say, put it on frame. And maybe the goalie hits it, and it's a corner, and then the game's over, or it goes in the stands, and we come back and play defense for 60 seconds. Mm-hmm. But to try to play with it on that sideline, you start the counterattack. Rev has to foul from behind. The ref is already against us at that point. Mm-hmm. And then you get the marginal call on the handball. But there's just no situational awareness. I know it's away, but you have to be aware. And it was everything happened on the sideline in front of Parkey, and he must have given no direction. I also don't understand why we don't bring Bolton in for some defense at the end. Right. He's a defensive player with a lot of pace. You know, if we're trying to kill a counterattack, I'd like Bolton on the field instead of, Max, who's maybe totally gassed. So I just think, we lost it at the end. They did not come back to beat us or tie.
Before I pass back to not PC on PC, and you can respond to that too. Steve Barton says BS penalty. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much. Brian, where are you watching from? I don't think we know that yet.
Pennsylvania. Okay,
good man. PC, you got something on that?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything there. I would have personally put Revan on the left wing and brought on Burton on the right wing. So, because usually you have one side being more attacking, the other being more defensive. If we're going to take off McLean, I think McLean stayed on. So Revan went to that right hand side for Barney. Maybe he just thought that he was gassed.
He did.
So yeah, but it was good to see File come on.
Yes.
I think he needed some minutes. I probably would have given him a few more than just a smidge bit more, but yeah.
Splat thinks it was a penalty. I don't. We could dive into that a little bit too. I'm going to just talk about first of all, the fact that I'm so frustrated trying to choose my words here too. The late substitutions for me. Do you think that the tiredness kicked in a little bit? That's why we were talking about being in the corner. Do you think that has an effect on us? Because I feel like we lost that game. Today's draw feels like a loss, in my opinion. So I don't know. Do you think that some of the management at the end there is getting us to where we're in trouble? I think some was good, but
I saw Lee looked really gassed, and I thought he played really well today.
He did.
But he looked really gassed in the last 10 minutes. If we could have done something for him, that would have been great. Like I said, we still had Bolton on the side. But yeah, no, very poor management. Got put on the back foot by trying to be cute. I mean, we had the free kick in their final third with 60 seconds left, and conceded a goal.
Mhm.
It's almost hard to do that.
Yeah.
But just a couple of really, really poor decisions. I don't even understand why Rev took that foul. I mean, he's the fastest guy on the team.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he just try to outrun him? And then, maybe we end up with a goal kick or a corner, which would have been better to defend than what we had.
Mm-hmm. PC?
I understand the argument of poor management, but I also think that you could also go the other way, because the only reason we're in a position to get drawn against in the first place is that Andy Cannon came straight on from being subbed and scored a goal within a few minutes of coming on. So
yeah, I think it's like 3 minutes, something like that.
Yeah. So I think they just switched off at the end, and I guess for them they probably felt that they can, because Cleworth looks like he's playing back in form.
Yeah.
Which was surprising considering he's had, the time off. AO played great.
It was great.
Scar has been on, and even O'Connor has been playing good. So maybe they thought that they had it. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, as much as we can sit there and have a go at the referees for losing this, at the end of the day, we didn't put it out of doubt. And when you leave that little smidge in the doorway, you give them the opportunity to come back. So at the end, we're at fault for losing, for drawing this game.
Sorry about that, guys. Patty's coming in. Hello, Patty. She's on the train. It's a little loud.
I'd like to know what Patty thought.
Hello, guys.
If he was in the end there, what he thought about our final free kick.
Sorry, what?
The final free kick.
The final free kick that we had.
I think this is actually a bad area for internet, because I might be going into some tunnels and stuff. So if I get shut down or if the noise is bad, just swap me out. I'll jump back in later.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop him out. Sorry, I'm gonna pop him out. I'll write in the chat. Sorry about that, guys. He was at the match, obviously, too. And we'll talk about this. In the end, Cleworth's arm was moving forward as the ball was bouncing off of it. So even if he had not initially played it without VAR, it's going to be normally treated as playing the ball. I don't know about that. Let's park the pen for a second real quick. Let's talk about that back line, though, with Scar and PC. You talked about Scar and Max maybe having good communication back there. Scar, for me, is undroppable at this point. For me,
they both are.
Yeah.
Now that Cleworth is back, and I expected him to be rusty, to be brutally honest, but he came back and he looked good. As I said, they do have issues with communication, but they've never played in the starting 11 together.
Yeah.
Scar was basically playing in the cups until he was given the opportunity to come in, and that was only because Cleworth was injured. So, there was that one instance where Scar headed the ball back to AO, and that winger almost got onto the ball, and Cleworth should have. He was supposed to communicate that while his back was turned.
Yeah, that was Scar's only mistake of the day.
Yeah.
Well, see, that to me that wasn't Scar's fault. That was Cleworth's. Cleworth's the one who has the third person perspective. You know what I mean? Whenever they're playing and he's got his back to whoever, then it's on the other person to communicate that, yours, mine, away, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It was for this game, but it's one of those things that they're naturally going to get. Now they're going to play together. Both of them, to me, are undroppable. So they're naturally and organically going to develop that within each other. But at the end of the day, it's happened because of when they signed Scar.
Yeah.
If he was here for preseason, they'd both be playing together this whole time, and they'd already developed that. So it is what it is.
Yeah, well, you're talking about signing players and getting people. Like, he has to use this squad. I know I keep repeating myself, and I'm going to repeat it all year, but he has to use the squad. 84-minute subs, 1 minute. He's going to run this team into the ground.
Yeah. I'm so fired up about the last minute.
Yeah.
I forget maybe the most important takeaway from this game, which is that I think we're in a crisis with our forwards. Mullen has not shown that he can be a top striker in League One. It hasn't happened. You could say his goal against Rotherham was a bit fluky, maybe 16 seconds in. And what else is there besides that? If he's going to step up and show it in the next few games, that's one thing. Yeah. But if not, we're in crisis mode because Marriott displayed that he can succeed in League One. He has put his foot where his mouth is. Mullen has not.
Yeah. What do you think?
I'm a little bit more forgiving because he was like this last year coming back from, I would say, a worse injury recovery. He's one of those kind of very slow burn people to come back into the side. He takes ages to get up to match fitness. And so I think that he will get up to getting, let's say, 20 goals plus maybe in the season. But he usually sometimes takes somewhere up to 7 or 8 weeks to really start get firing. Yeah. So it's just one of those situations where we got to play him until he gets to that point, like until he gets to that critical mass of match sharpness, which for him, you never know when it's going to come. But I did say on the, I think one of my super chats was where are the goals going to come today?
Yes.
Because Mullen wasn't doing it. And I obviously was right because our 2 goals came from a centre back and from a centre midfielder. So,
a set piece OG as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it was technically an own goal, but it came off O'Connor. So, you know what I mean? So it's good that we've got goals coming from elsewhere on the pitch, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's not great that Mullen isn't scoring goals. But again, he's what's the best way to explain it? He's consistent in his inconsistency, if that makes sense. Because as I said, last year it took him a while to get up to form, but once he was in form, he was firing. You know what I mean? So it's the same pattern. So hopefully it repeats itself.
So why is that? Sorry, Brian. So why is that? Do you think he's not getting the right service? Do you think it's just because we're playing, he's not the speed? Do you think he's not with the right partner at this level? Brian, why do you think that is?
I definitely think there's those spaces that he had in League Two are smaller here.
Yeah,
especially away. And so, he's going to have to change his approach a little bit or get out into space more, maybe take some more chances. I thought Lee's shot was great.
Yeah.
If he can keep that form, he will get goals this season. I thought the Cannon sub was great. That's kind of exactly what I expect Andy Cannon to do. He's had big goals for us, even though Rath had played a terrific game up until he was taken out. But we've got a real problem scoring.
Yeah, I think we do too. We're talking about scoring, Patty. What do you think about? We're talking about Mullen up front not being able to deliver. But what do you think? What did you see out there from Mullen or didn't see from him?
I think Mullen actually looked quite good. He got into the right spaces. He was calling for passes over to them, and a little bit they weren't great chances. It was difficult to get the ball to him, but he's in the right places and he's going to come good with scoring, I think. He did give out to a few other players, kind of calling, why didn't you get it to me, and waiting for a pass back, stuff like that. Some of them should have been better, but he'll come good, I think.
Thinks he could. Hugh D says Mullen is struggling. He'll be back. He's on the train. League One defending is quicker. And Kelly Davidson says, I agree at John Merrill. I am not convinced Mullen will come back to the form we're used to from that. We are a League One. Losing Marriott is a huge blow. PC.
As I said before, man, I think certain players have a certain kind of critical mass that they need to get to before they're running on all cylinders. And Mullen just seems to be one of those people. He was like this last year. Everyone was clutching at their pearls and saying that the sky was falling because he wasn't back up to speed within 6 to 7 games. We're only at like 2 or 3. Yeah. I think we just need to chill. If it gets past that point, then maybe we need to relook at things.
Okay.
But he, as I've said, he's pretty consistent in when he doesn't have the match sharpness, how long it takes for him to hit that critical mass. So until that point, I'm not gonna heap on the thing. We got to play him. I mean, Marriott's down, so he's going to get that critical mass sooner rather than later. One could say this is probably better for him because if Marriott was still in form, it may have been 16 games or something before he was up to that kind of critical mass. So we may draw some games. Hell, we may even lose some games because of it. But we're doing so much better than we did last year, especially when it comes to the start of the thing. So we can afford to drop a few games potentially and make them up when he gets back to his apex predator kind of striker. You know what I mean? So I'm not in the slightest bit concerned as of today.
Mm-hmm. Last check, he says 5 points from 3 games, 2 on the road against clubs in the championship last year. Disappointing but proud. Hashtag perspective. Agree with that. But this felt like a loss, a kick in the nuts. And let's stay up front with things right there. Unless Brian, you want to bring up another topic, but let's stay up front. Let's talk about Palmer. Not scoring goals, but does a great work off the ball.
He's a target forward. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's great if he does get goals, but his job is to essentially supply his finishing striker. So I'm not necessarily one of these people who's like, oh, Palmer needs to be scoring, or Fletcher is a different thing because he's an impact sub, so you want him to be making an impact.
Yeah.
But as I said, he's more of a supporting target forward who's supposed to be holding up and running into channels and doing other kind of things. He's almost like I wouldn't go so much to say a playmaker, but more of a supporting role than an attacking role. So I don't need him. I don't think that he needs to necessarily be scoring. That's more Mullen's thing.
Yeah.
That's the kind of whole big man, little man situation. So, and I would actually go so far to say that he's outperforming his supportive role when it comes to goals this season. Because he's done pretty well. He scored a few goals in the amount of games that he has started. So I mean, I don't see how anyone could really be saying negative things about him at this point in the season.
Yeah, I think this was one of Palmer's better games in our recent stretch. I mean, some games he has looked just bad, but in this cup game coming up, I would like to see Mo play 90 and really start to see what we're getting at him because I mean, I don't know what he got today. He had 10 minutes against Huddersfield. He just needs more. We don't even know what we have.
Yeah. By the way, the Dobson interview dropped. I will cover that in Wrexham Reaction after we're done with this here too. We're going to do some more conversation here with the guys, and anyone who wants to pop in, please. I will drop it in here if you want to come in and have your say. I'll do like another half hour or so of this, and then we can half hour 20 minutes. We can get this in, and I'll do Wrexham Reaction. Sorry, working without a net here. So I want to discuss also too. I got to bring it up. I have to. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Parkinson? I know he was pissed at the end, but I think it goes into what Brian was saying at the end of the match. We looked tired, leggy, trying to do some things that didn't quite work out. Talk to me about his Parkinson's plan here. Either one.
He has so much experience, especially in League One. Most of our games are going to be tight. We're not going to be winning, 4-1, 3-1. You have to be able to execute these late game situations away. and we just completely collapsed on that counterattack. I mean, you should have 11 behind the ball. There was no time left. Like, we did everything wrong, and I don't understand why, with all the veterans on our squad, how that was allowed to happen. So I think part of it is not subbing tired players, maybe more rotation. I'm not sure, but we got to do better, or it's going to cost more points throughout the season.
Yeah, Ryan, you want to mute? Ryan, you still there?
No, that was me.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you. Oh, sorry, not PC. Your voices sound the same. Sorry about that. It's tough to not see faces. I apologize. Go ahead, PC.
No, I've got to think about that one for a little bit longer.
I'll help you out there. Parkinson's an old school veteran. He's going to change down. He isn't going to change. We're going to be forced into things like that. And Mary says it's the entire team. Parky subs late per usual, but the subs didn't make an impact. Cannon did. The team thought they were going to play out the clock. We did play out the clock. I agree with that, but we would have. We did, like you said, we should have been sitting behind the ball and not doing anything. That's what we should have been.
Yeah, you go back on your recording and watch the free kick. We had men in front of the ball like we were trying to score. There's 60 seconds left. You can put the ball on frame. Maybe the goalie punches it, it hits the post, goes out of bounds, whatever. That's fine. But then you got to have all 11 behind the ball. There's only time for one. The ref is already thinking to himself, all right, there's one attack left here.
Mm-hmm.
And all we have to do at that point is kick it out of bounds or, get a throw in and the game's over.
Yeah.
Like, it was literally the absolute worst possible case scenario.
I agree. I'm going to go back to one thing too, and I agree with Techie there, the perspective thing. But I want to win these games. We're in a position to win this match. We should have won it. We absolutely should have won it. And like you said, be better with. I mean, Parkinson was pissed at the end. I don't know if he could read lips, but he was obviously pissed. But we got to figure out a way to close these games out. 0-0, 2-2. Like, we just got to figure out a way to close these games out. I thought Dobson was a beast. That Dobson is an absolute beast in the middle of the park.
Yeah, no arguments there. Yeah, him and Scar. I think WREXtra was saying it last week. We're developing a really good back spine.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got AO, Scar, and Dobson, and obviously on the other side you've got but that's that spine, and we've got it, which is good. And it's definitely like, if we do well and we potentially go up, and there's obviously arguments for that, but I'm not going to digress. That's what you want to center your team around, and I'm loving it at the moment.
I'm loving it too, but I watch some of these games and I'm like, they're slipping away from us. By the way, yes, Parkinson did get a yellow card at the end. I mean, that to me, this feels like a loss. This feels like a loss, and I feel like we could be doing other things to prevent losses with tired legs, and making mistakes like that. And you're right. There's some veterans out there that, for lack of a better word, they should know better. They really should know better.
But you got to put it in perspective as well, because if we're thinking about it as a loss, that means Charlton seeing a home draw as a win.
Oh, they were celebrating.
No question.
Yeah, I mean, and so I'm saying it's a perspective thing, which just shows that we're doing really well in this league. So I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to have results like this with weird, that are down to referees. I would argue that we had the ability to close it out, and we should have, but these are going to happen. And at the end of the day, it's we got to realize that this is a potential in the game. It's not great when it happens, but it's one of those kind of 50-50 things, because it's just as easy that it happens for us.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We're allowed.
Go ahead. Sorry?
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know what's in Parky's mind, but I think he made the decision to put Rev in before the Cannon goal. And, maybe that strategy should have changed after the goal. Maybe he doesn't use Rev, even though I want Rev to have time. And he tries Bolton instead. Because you got to remember, Rev is a young player. He hadn't had a tremendous amount of, first team experience coming into the season. I love him. But he is young and maybe made some bad decisions at the end there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it's one of those situations where both Burton and Redden both haven't had much starting 11 time recently, so I don't know. I don't know if it really would have got a difference in.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though, Burton is. Sorry, not Burton. Sorry, Bolton. Who am I talking about? Bolton is more defensive, granted. But yeah, neither of them have had much time on the ball for the starting. Hell, actually, we haven't even seen Bolton in the reserve team for cup games because he's just come back from injury. So
toe injury.
Maybe that's got something to do with it, or we've got a cup game coming up soon. Maybe he plays him in that. So actually, he'll probably play.
I wish Brunt had been available. I don't know what the story is with him, if he's match fit or not. But that would have been a great option to have.
Yeah. Actually, I was surprised that they put O'Connell on the bench instead of him, because as I've said ad nauseum, O'Connell is not a right centre back. He can play in that central centre back role like Scar does, but the moment you got him on the right hand side, like actually even WREXtra was even talking about, he just makes stupid mistakes because he hasn't got the pace that he used to have. People get past him, then he makes fouls. But Cluith and Lewis, they don't have that limitation. So I personally would have put Brunt. Lewis Brunt on the bench myself, because if Cluith did come back from injury, and he potentially could have picked up a niggle again, which he seems to do. Parky. I noticed that Parky will a lot of the times put someone on the bench if he's bringing someone back from injury. Like, for instance, at one point, we had, Fletcher, Mullen, and Fowle on the bench when Mullen was first coming back. There was 3 strikers on the bench at one point, and I was like, that's a bit strange. Usually you only have Fletcher and someone else. Mm-hmm. But he had 3, and I think it's because at some point he was going to bring Mullen on for a couple of minutes. Yeah. But on the off chance that he did hurt himself, he still had that striker, on the bench. So I was surprised that Lewis wasn't on the bench, because O'Connell cannot do the same job as Cluith. He just can't.
And Max was thrown into it today, and he stood up to it really well. That kid,
yes,
Campbell was up his ass right at the start of it, tested him out. They went shoulder to shoulder. Max got the better of him, which was great. So I'd like to see that. John Merrill says, it only feels bad because of the last kick of the game, chasing the pack. We have all won. In a week or two, you'll look back and say a point away at Charlton is a bad result. You're right. All that said, I agree with that. And then Parky went on to say, Walczak said, Parky's post-match interview is interesting. Openly blames the ref for losing us. Yeah, I'll cover that in WREXtra Time.
A lot of pundits, today, Huddersfield, I think it was Leyton Orient was a draw too. A lot of these people are happy with draws, but you look around the division, mm-hmm. and there are teams out there going for the win, playing for the win, and winning games. Yeah. And, that we don't seem to have that mentality. And I don't know why. And when we're in February and March, we're going to miss those points that dearly.
I agree. Yeah. Win today would have been fantastic. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm not one for shoulda, woulda, couldas. They're not something you can live your life on.
Yeah.
However, I will say this: if Mitchell had gone off with the red, which I think he deserved, we wouldn't have had this. This result would not have happened, because they would have been down a defender and they would have had to move things around, and there's no way that would have happened.
Right.
But it's one of those things, man. You got to play the game in front of you. So
was that before? Was that before or after they switched the center referee?
After.
Oh, that was after.
Yeah. I just said, that's what I opened with, was once you have that change as a player, you've got to know you're in a whole different universe.
Different game. Different game.
This guy is coming on. He wasn't prepared. He did not wake up this morning thinking he was going to be in there. And you got to keep that in mind as you play.
Yeah.
I think we're really lucky that Maka didn't get a second yellow after the handball, which obviously then he would have had to miss, the next game.
Yeah, because he got shoved, and then he shoved back, and then
right.
And usually it's the second one that gets you in trouble there. He got very lucky there too.
But I will give some props to the referee for making the decision to come off. I mean, if he didn't feel that, if he was injured to the point where he didn't feel that he could do the job, it's due diligence.
Yeah, sure.
I'm glad that he made that choice to come off, even though I unfortunately the guy that came on wasn't the greatest, but c'est la vie, you know what I mean?
Well, there was a lot of shirt pulling on there. It wasn't a physical game. There was a lot of this stuff, and that's part of the game. You got to be able to adapt and adjust to it too. So,
well, I think Wrexham has got a target on their back,
front and back, my friend.
Yeah, and we better realize that. I mean, look at Birmingham has now dropped points after playing us, but they brought their best. We saw their upper half championship level play against us. And I think we're going to get that from every squad.
100%. Yep. 100%. Especially when we're not top of the table. We're up to the top of the table. Birmingham dropped points today, which was good. And then we dropped points today. I thought we would and everyone's like, oh, give Birmingham the league. Like, we can't have the mentality. You don't go out to be second,
Exactly.
You cannot go out to be second.
There's an old saying, it goes, 2 is not a winner and 3 no one remembers.
Very true. Very true. And everyone's kind of feeling defeated, and I get it. I totally get it. Who was your man of the match on our side of things?
I want to say Dobson. There were a lot of guys played very well today.
They did.
We had victory in hand. If I would have to say Dobson if I had to pick somebody.
The weirdest thing is most games there's some, at least in my honest opinion, there's usually one player that just seems to be clear cut the best person, but there was a few where I just couldn't separate them.
Mm-hmm.
AO today played out of his mind. That head that went through first, there's no way he could have saved that. I mean, Go Gadget couldn't have saved that. And then you had the penalty. So in my mind, to me, even though it wasn't a clean sheet, as far as it comes to him, to me, it's a clean sheet because there's no way he could have saved that. Scar didn't get. I don't believe that people really gave Scar the credit he deserved today.
Oh,
he just, and Barney was playing out of his mind. So it's one of those kind of games where if anyone said any one of those three people, I'd be like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I honestly couldn't separate them because all three of them played out of their minds.
Yeah.
But if someone put a bullet, a gun to my head, I'd probably pick AO because we could have lost this game.
Oh, for sure. Matty, who's your man of the match?
It's really hard to tell. Quite a few people had a decent game, but I don't know that it was a massive standout. I agree, Scar did do extremely well. One or two maybe small issues, but they happened. So, too many, too close.
Yeah. And then not to go back, and the boys were talking about it earlier, and everyone in the chat. The penalty? Did you have your say? You didn't have a say yet on it.
I was on the other end of the side. I was behind the Charlton goal at that point, so I didn't get to see it. I assume it was a handball. Yeah.
Handball. He kind of jumped. I think PC said he kind of jumped a bit. Looked worse.
Yeah, he jumped with his arms tucked.
Yeah.
But I can totally understand how that could have looked. Other people reckon his arm came a little bit forward, but I think that's a bit BS, to be brutally honest.
I think if there was video review in the Premier League, 4 out of 10 would be no handball, maybe 6 out of 10 handball. So it was close.
One of the potential issues with it, according to everybody around me, was the reaction of our players. None of them had an issue with it being called. They didn't step up and say, it's not right, it's not a handball or whatever. So the reaction of the players did not show that it didn't happen. So
we do not have video review in the championship. There's no video review in the championship. Well, all that said, I mean, it feels like a loss today, and you can't, if fans, if maybe some buts, all that stuff. What could we have done? Non-PC and Brian also brought up the end of the match about Rev's foul, not subbing late earlier. I mean, in the nearby, you were there. Any thoughts there? Add to that.
No, I actually didn't mind the subbing late this time for once. We were pretty much in control of the game. And I think they really only came on to be fresh legs and just to see it out. They didn't do anything particularly bad. Revan again showed off. He was doing some fancy tricks, messing about with his feet, if you saw that. Now, you can take that either way. Like, he's confident. I think he's ready for this league, and I think we'll score more if he's on. But is he good defensively as well? He's maybe not quite as strong defensively, so that's one or the other. My big takeaway again from and it matches with what I've seen on the other matches. McLean is not good enough, and I hate to say it. All right, and I'll tell you why. McLean is excellent at all the basics. And if he's on the pitch, it's not a problem. But he does not have moments of magic and specialty in him as much as he should to be in the position.
I don't disagree.
I'm sorry. I love the guy, but he shouldn't be first on that spot.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that's a problem, because each year we seem to be switching sides with the attacker and the defender, and now that Barney's starting to be a lot more physical on that right-hand side, he can essentially start playing that more defensive on the right-hand side and let Revan play that more aggressive attacking guy on the left-hand side, which I think would be great, because, I mean, a lot of people have been saying that Lee isn't getting enough service, but now that if you have Lee and Barney together, that could be a really good thing moving forward. So
better balance.
I think that's sorry?
Better balance.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing. It's just switching the other side. It's just that, But it's good. It just means that they've been bringing in pretty good signings, and they're thinking ahead. They're just waiting for people to either – they've got options for when people start to decline and when other people are starting to develop. So it's good.
I do take away from this game, I really like Cannon as the first midfielder substitution. I like him on the bench and the first midfielder in, because I like Rathbone and Dobson and Lee playing together. I don't know if Lee was just giving extra effort against his former team, but I thought the three of them played really well today, and I like Cannon coming off the bench for that offensive spark.
Yeah, 100%. He's it's funny, I actually had the exact same observation, because it's kind of weird where I think Cannon's probably not going to like that idea of being, coming off, he probably wants to be that regular starter. But I'm liking Rathbone. He is that Energizer, that Duracell bunny running around, making really nice little, I think he nutmegged one dude at one point, which was really funny. His dribbles are good.
Yeah, that was class.
Yeah. And the cool thing is he runs people off their feet, and then once they're run off their feet, then you can bring on Cannon, who has that really nice long shot, who is willing to shoot from distance. And yeah, well, I mean, look what he did. 3 minutes coming on and he scored. So I really like it. He's essentially, in my opinion, he's almost becoming like a Fletcher from the midfield.
What do you got on that, Patty? Anything?
Yeah, I do kind of agree. Rathbone is a harasser. He's in about everybody. He's nipping at your feet. He's all over you. So he's a different sort of player, and I do kind of agree with starting him for 60 minutes and then maybe swapping out to Cannon or someone like that. I wonder if some of the finishing of Rathbone is again not having enough time with the team. I would hope some of that gets a little bit better, but you can see with Rathbone as well. He wants to score. There was 2 chances that he had where he was taking shots himself, kind of just outside the box, and they weren't bad. They weren't bad situations, and he didn't do too badly with them. And different days, he might have been able to score those, or certainly trouble the keeper more, and maybe get a deflection and then see where the ball lands. So I do like him, but to me, he looks like he needs more minutes first on.
I would even add that I think he needs, not only that, I think he needs more time with the team, because there's been a few times where he's like, I would have reckoned that it would have been better, because he makes these really nice supporting passes to the striker. But then you can kind of tell that when they start to kind of hold up the ball, it would have been better if they did some kind of 1-2 passes back to him, so he could then recycle it on to someone else in space. But a lot of the times, I think some of the strikers are a little bit selfish and they want to hold on to the ball instead of recycling it back. That's one observation.
I really think we are getting closer to the best 11 on the field. I mean, I think it's clearly now Max and Scar in the back. I don't know if O'Connor is going to be able to hold off Brunt long term. But, I really think we're getting close to the cream rising to the top. I don't know why it takes so long with Parkey to, kind of move on from some of the former players. But, I think we're getting there, and maybe I don't know how he deals with McLean going forward.
I think that's his biggest issue, and I agree. I agree with Patty. That Ravon could change the game, the dynamics of the balance of the pitch. Macca puts all effort in. He's the captain. He gets. He's out there doing his thing. But to be honest, I had said, we need to change a little bit at the end of the game there to try to go on and win it. We did. Andy Cannon came in and did well, but I agree with that. Macca is probably his biggest problem. And if JM was still fit and still scoring, that would be his second biggest problem.
Yeah, I think Macca is actually hurting Lee's time on the ball and what he's doing with the ball. Nothing good is coming on that side, unfortunately, and I think part of that is just McLean is good at holding up. He's good with his fitness. If he wasn't fit, there's no way he'd be playing. And literally, it's his fitness and his work rate and his ethic in getting back and team spirit and all of that that's keeping him there. But I hate to say it, he should be sat.
So what happens when he doesn't take any matches off and he doesn't have that fitness edge anymore because Parkey doesn't get many days off?
I don't think that's ever going to be an issue, man. I think that guy does triathlons just for fun.
No, at some point it'll start hurting him. It'll just get a little bit less. I don't see you'll ever get a massive drop out of him. I think pretty much his level is his level. And that's why he can be on the pitch and not look terribly bad. But he doesn't have any levels up. And unless he's ill or sick or whatever, he doesn't really have any levels down either. He is what he is at this point.
Yeah, I mean that's a big statement there. But I kind of agree. Fairly even game, Mary. Thanks for the congrats. Talking about his game. Ravon Flatterspa has no end product. I don't think he's had an opportunity, Andy. I don't think he's had an opportunity to get in there and play. I really don't think so. That's my take.
You can't give someone 10 minutes and then be like, they don't have finished product.
Like JM from last year.
I'm sorry, man. That's not the greatest statement.
Let me in on that one. Revan in person does look good. And as I said, sometimes he looks a little bit flashy. And I'm a little bit undecided is it flash or is it skill? And he needs more time on the pitch. And either he will come very, very good or he will come unstuck quickly, I think. You know, it'll be obvious that he doesn't have that finish once he gets the minutes. But I expect if he gets the minutes, he will show he is that good. In my opinion, from the small bits I've seen. But looking at him today in the way he plays, he looks like a League One player to me. He looks like he has levels up if he's with the team long enough.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're two different players, but if you look at the example of Marriott last year, he doesn't get the minutes, he can't show anything, but then this season he's clearly a quality League One player. And that can be hidden if somebody's just on the bench.
Well,
any insight on the Icelandic forward who's brought in?
I'm calling him IVJ. Icelandic.
I'm calling him my daddy.
I'm not calling him anything because I'm going to screw it up.
Yeah, I think there's a whole bunch of people calling him daddy.
Good daddy there. Well, he's got to get on the pitch. I know today he didn't pass the waivers, but he was warming up today. You did see him warming up at the beginning there, so he was there. Matty James was on the bench. Like to get him in, but our next game is next Sunday, so we got some time off here, which is good. I'm right. There's no midweek game. I should probably know this. So. No midweek game.
Isn't there a cup game coming up soon?
There's a cup game Tuesday, I think.
Okay, so Tuesday. Yeah.
No, there's not.
Is it not?
No.
Let me have a look.
Next Sunday, Harrogate Town.
Okay.
Oh, Sunday. Okay. A break until then.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, we got that. I'm insanely frustrated, and I see that the Dobson interview is up and the Parkinson interview is up as well. Here you go. Well, Stecky, here you go. His paperwork is filed and he's waiting for clearances. So I don't know exactly what that means. EFL trophy. EFL. I don't know exactly what that means. So he's not available yet, basically. So we have him. He's just not available yet. The cup game is next Sunday. That's our next game, not midweek.
EFL trophy. EFL trophy is not Harrogate. That's the FA Cup.
Right. Our next game is Sunday, November 3rd. That's what I see on the website. We have Fulham U21s midweek. Okay. All right. There you go. All right. Anything else before we get out of here? Because I'm going to run over and I'm going to go do WREXtra Time. I'd love to, so I'm going to put that up. But last words to you guys?
On that bombshell.
Yeah, don't be happy with draws.
Oh.
Like that. That's my guy. Yes. All right. And on that bombshell, on PC, you're out? There he's out. Love it. Brian?
On that bombshell, I'm out.
Hey, good to have you in, man. Have a good time. Hey.
Okay. So the one thing I would say about this is recently I was kind of talking about our away performance and saying that maybe the results don't matter so much, but I wanted to see that we're playing well, And today is kind of what I was looking for. It was great to get the 3 points recently, but not play great, because obviously the points are all that ultimately matter. But today is what I was looking for in general, which is to show that we can play well when we're away. Sorry about that noise. If you were to swap the goals today, and if you were to put Charlton up 2-1 and we scored, that would have looked like a much better performance because we were playing really, really well, and their goals, they would have got a bit lucky. And it's just unfortunate it was the other way around because everybody was so high and everyone was so hyped that we're getting the 3 points just to lose it at the last second. But if we continue this sort of form with the away matches of playing decently and then pulling out results as well with it, that will probably get us where we need to be at the end of the season.
Yeah.
That's the positive. That's my on the bombshell.
That's
on that bombshell.
All right, brother. Good. Get home safe. I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to go to WREXtra Time. And sorry, I'm going to go to Wrexham. I can't even get my shit right. Wrexham Reaction. And hey, great job early this morning, too. Awesome stuff.
Cool.
Right.
Talk to you later. Bye.
That's Patty. Patty's on the ground there doing his thing. And it sounds like he did enjoy it live, but he's a little bit tired. So, yeah, he's going to go do that. He's getting on the train right now. I can see him in the back. You have to be happy with draws in football. I'm not happy with this draw because I wanted to win, Techie. There you go. But I understand what you're saying, though. I'm not, no take on that. And it says, Josh is right. Wrexham not playing till Harrogate FA Cup. Don't make me right. I love to be, I cannot be, I can't be right all the time. Okay, here's the deal. Good call-in show. Usually Patty does a longer one. I have some things I need to do today, so I'm going to get the Wrexham reaction up real quick. So I'm going to turn this right around to get to see my dumb face again. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. It helps out a lot. I love the WREXtra Time show. Normally Patty does it. He turns it around, but this is great. I'd love to call in. So everyone's welcome to call in, as you know. And again, usually we do it longer. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Not PC and Patty and everyone in the chat today too. And just want to say to Addison Madison, good to have you back. And if you need anything, please let us know. And thank you, Steve Barton, for the local pundit memberships and the super chat BS penalty. So on that bombshell, I will see you all